everybody, welcome to Shady Entertainment. It's a lot hotter today, guys. I think we missed spring. I think in Canada, I don't know if it's like that everywhere else, but in Canada, we just went from winter straight to summer, and it's like hot as hell in here. The air conditioner's gonna be too loud, so I can't even put that on, so you might see some beads of sweat just dripping down my face. And if you do that, just know this, I'm not nervous, I'm just hot. And that's why I'm not wearing any pants. That's right, guys. I'm like one of those newscasters, you know, the ones when you wonder if they stand up if they're wearing pants. Well, you don't have to wonder with Shady. Full disclosure in this channel. I ain't wearing no pants, so let your imaginations fly. Alright guys, so today I'm going to do something different. And I'm actually going to do a bunch of these kind of videos. So I started thinking about one of the reasons why I decided to make videos like this. I'm a movie lover of all movies, not just Star Wars, but I love all movies, right? It's been disappointing to see the hits and misses, and mostly misses. And I'm not talking about the misses, I'm talking about misses. Yes, okay, this year has been off to a good start. I will grant them that, but in general, we can all agree that Hollywood just hasn't been the same, right? And I really have to say that the peak for me, the prime, was from 1975 to 1995. Now I know a lot of people will be like, oh no, it's 1994. Or 1992. Listen, I'm rounding it down to 1995. You know, there was good movies before 1975 and there was good movies after 1995. The reason why I picked that particular time frame is that was a time when Hollywood's story making, acting, script writing, the action, the direction, the creativity of Hollywood, combined with the fact that they also had the special effects to pull off what they wanted to do, right? Before 1975, special effects were not as good to pull off certain things, and then after 1995, Hollywood began relying on special effects and taking away from the story. So I think that was a moment, though, between 1975 to 1995. Again, I'm rounding out these numbers, like if you want to say 1992, more power to you. I'm rounding it down. The reason why I say that is because everything was at its peak in this point, right? I want to bring back the glory years to Hollywood, and I think we can do it. The way I want to bring back the glory years is you got to analyze the past. I think it was Confucius that said, the only way to make a better future is you got to learn from the past. I don't know if that was Confucius. I'm Confucius about who said that, and maybe I just made that whole thing up. I don't even know. Guys, let me know in the comments, did I make that saying up? Is it even a thing? Well, it is now. You can quote Shady Entertainment on that. I don't know. You've got to learn from the past to move forward, and if you want to fix the future, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to learn from the past, and I'm going to discuss things that Hollywood did right and compared to the things that Hollywood's doing wrong now. And we're going to do it alphabetically, guys. So I'm going to go through a list of different genres like action, adventure, horror, that sort of thing. And I'm going to go into what I believe worked in the past and why things were so good back then, and why they're not doing so good today. I don't have a working title yet for this segment I'm doing. It's going to be an ongoing series that I'm going to do. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. So like I said, we're going to start alphabetically. So today that would mean action movies. I'm not going to mix genres. I'm not going to go with action, adventure, action, sci-fi. I'm not going to do that. I want to stick with just the basic action movies from 1975 to 1995 or better, compared to what's going on right now. So when I talk about action movies, I have to say what's wrong with action movies today. I'm talking about the action movies. Sort of the put your brain away kind of action movies. The kind of movies that you know you're not going to get like this Shakespearean performance in it, but you're just going to go to the movie theater, pay your money, enjoy a couple of hours of things blowing up, some cool effects and some kicking to the heads and some breaking of arms, and then you go home and you're cool with it. Now, they still have those movies. I mean, people would say the Fast and Furious series and Mission Impossible series. Still that genre of movies. But the difference today, I think, compared to the movies of old, and it's one simple fact. Back in the day, action movies had action heroes. The death of the action movie, it's not necessarily dead. It is a very much declining genre, the pure action movie. There's very few of them out there, and the ones that are out there, there's something missing to these movies. There's just something in it that's just not that was there in the past but isn't now. And the traditional action movie in North America has been replaced in Hollywood by the superhero movie. And while the superhero movies are fun, and I like them, I love superhero movies, no one's going to say I don't like superhero movies, they kind of tend to be for more of a younger generation. And that's all fine. I have nothing against that. It's just the action movies sort of kind of faded away into existence and been slowly surpassed and replaced by just the superhero movie. And the superhero movie just doesn't have the edge that the action movies have, or had back in the day. You can still get that funny and comedy elements from these movies, but the graphic violence that we all crave. It's not being fulfilled through these movies, and has been kind of replaced. So, what do I mean by the action hero? Now, the action hero being the characters. These are the characters that the actors created to make these movies great. Now, the action movies that we do see today kind of all miss that character, that persona that embodies this what we see in these stupid action movies, right? Now, I'm not going to judge The Rock. I like The Rock. The Rock is kind of like the action hero of our generation. And while I do like The Rock, you know, he doesn't bring his personality as much. He's sort of a dry character. And I like him. Like, he brings a certain prestige to these movies. And that's what makes him good in these movies, is his level of strength. You can buy his strength and you can believe it. And when he does these acrobatics and he does these fight sequences, you can believe that he's good and strong. In the same way you can believe that Arnold Schwarzenegger could do them, because they're both big muscular guys. But I would say the difference between Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Arnold Schwarzenegger was the delivery of the lines. Whereas Arnold could come out and say pretty much anything in those days. It would just be great. I mean, Arnold could pull off any line. You could just say, "Candy cane, don't put down your candy cane." And it would be like, that's a great line. And just because Arnold said it, whereas The Rock, if he came out and said "candy cane," it wouldn't work as well. And that's because Arnold Schwarzenegger had a character, his personality. And he brought his character and he brought his personality onto screen with him. So he was like The Rock Johnson with his big muscular prowess. And whether inadvertently or on purpose, it doesn't even matter, because he brought it with him every movie he went. And he became a caricature onto himself, and he owned it. He owned his personality. He knew who he was. And he didn't care about being typecasted. I don't remember ever Arnold Schwarzenegger complaining about being typecasted in these movies. I'd be like, I would like to do more drama. I want to be in the ER. I want to be a doctor. I'd be like, pass me the scalpel. No! You know, we never wanted to see him do a courtroom drama where he's in, you want the answers? Well, you can't handle the truth. I'll kill you! You don't really picture Arnold doing those kind of courtroom dramas or anything like that. He knew where he belonged. And that's where I respected guys like him, is that he understood where he belonged. He knew what his zone was, he stuck to it, and they worked around him to make the movies great. Whereas today, they're so afraid of being typecast, these actors, they're so afraid of being personalities, that's sort of what takes away from these movies. The actors themselves, I think, don't have the courage to be crazy. And they do when it comes to being a villain. For some reason, all actors want to be villains because they can let their hair fly and be loose and crazy. And that's where I think they let the creativity fly, is when they're a villain. But for some reason nowadays, they don't. Back in the day, you didn't have to just be a crazy villain. You could be a crazy villain and still have a crazy hero, and it would work. And I mean be crazy because the personality of the actor wasn't a typical person. No one's going to say Stallone is a typical person. Not everybody walks around like this. Yeah, you know you do. Stallone had his own personality, so he brought that with him to every movie he did. Now, we're going to look at the past. So now I want to do my list of the top action heroes and their top movies. Their top action movies, and to how we could now figure out why these guys were so good, what made them so good, what made their movies so good, and then how can we move forward and try and make that apply to today. It's called application, guys. You learned that in math. You don't just learn the science, you got to apply it. You have to learn the application of it. Otherwise, it's just theory. So, I'm going to make a list of my 5 favorite action heroes from the past, and what made them so good, what made them awesome, why their movies did so well, and going forward, how the new actors can take from the past, learn from it, and move forward. Alright guys, so without further ado, let us go. So my first one on the list, and these aren't going to be in order for best to worst, because it doesn't matter, it's irrelevant. These guys all had their time in the sun, these guys were all great. They brought an element of who they were to their roles. Some of these guys pioneered some things. Actually, all these guys were pretty much pioneers in what they brought. So, the guys that are on my list, I'm just going to name them all off. And they're pretty obvious guys. There's going to be very few surprises on my list. Number 1 on my list, again, this isn't particular order, it's just number 1 because I put my finger up, number 1. And then he's just going to be the first guy that I think of. Bruce Willis, Harrison Ford, Arnold, I had already mentioned Arnold. You have Stallone, hey, how you doing? Okay, so I said 5, I lied. There's going to be more because I misread my fingers. Jackie Chan. Last but not least on my list, I don't know why he's a little pinky. He doesn't belong to a pinky, he belongs to a thumb. And we're talking Bruce Lee. Now we have honorable mentions. You could say Clint Eastwood, Mel Gibson, or I got a particular set of skills, Liam Neeson. Now these guys are all good in their own right. These guys all have their personalities, but I want to focus on these first 7 guys that I had listed. I'm going to start with Bruce Willis. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. First time I saw Bruce Willis, he was doing a show called Moonlighting. And what makes him unique in the movies he's in, he's got this personality that, I mean, anyone could play the cool guy, you know, he always has the cool, like, I don't know, nothing phases him really. But it's not just that nothing phases Bruce Willis in his movies. It's that he always seems to play a guy whose life has trampled him, beaten him down. You can tell in all his movies that he's trained, he's competent in what he does. For some reason, life and life events, mostly personal matters, beat him down to the point where he was always a guy who's either an alcoholic, living in a car, single, or just not giving up on life, but just sort of needs an excuse to care. And God help you if you ever give him that excuse, because he's well trained. And that's where the villains never see Bruce Willis coming in any of his movies, because most of the time he's playing this bum gutter guy who lives in the gutter, who's living in his car, or just somebody who just doesn't give a rat's ass 90% of the time, because he gives that personality of I don't give a shit. And he truly does, because, you know, life beat him down so much, and so villains don't see him coming, right? He's always forgotten, but then they always give him that reason, right? Take movies like Die Hard, and that's kind of where Bruce Willis shines in his movies, and that's what gives his movies personality. He's also cool. He's an attractive guy, but I wouldn't go as far as to call him one of the most attractive people in the world. He's not ugly, but he's not, you know, he's got a rugged good looks to him. His physique isn't overbearing or overpowerful. He's no Rock or Schwarzenegger. Even though he kind of has a schlub look to him, you do still kind of think that there is a fitness level to him that lies underneath. That's all I think portrayed in his personality, and what he does and what he says, and how he acts. Now, everyone's going to say his best movies, Die Hard's 1, 2, 3, 4, and everyone's going to put that on the list of the best action movie of all time. Well, one of the best action movies of all time. But for me, and I like the obscure kind of movies that he's done. I know one of the movies I really like that he did that people don't really talk about, Last Man Standing. I really think that's a great movie. You guys should check that out. Really badass in that movie. Christopher Walken's in it. It's a great movie. Check it out. Another one that I liked went under the radar was Hudson Hawk. It was one of those really crazy, overly creative movies. Danny Aiello was in it. Not a lot of people liked it, but I did, because mind you, I like weird movies like that, so check out Hudson Hawk. It's another really great movie, action movie. But for me, the best movie that he's ever been in, the number one movie, action movie that is, I say, to me it's The Last Boy Scout. He and Damon Wayans partnering up, and Halle Berry also was in it. It was just a fantastic movie all around. For me, it's one of not just his best action movies, it's to me one of the best action movies I've ever seen. It's got great action. It was directed by Tony Scott. He did Top Gun and Days of Thunder, and it's written by one of my favorite action writers, and that's Shane Black. Not just because his name is the same as mine, but because I like his style. Quick-witted quips and things of that nature. I think it suits that style of action movie so well. And when you have guys like Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans who could make those lines jump off the page, it makes it that much better, right? The Last Boy Scout to me is one of those underrated, underappreciated movies that I think everyone should go see. I actually like it better than Die Hard. I know a lot of people are like, what? I love Die Hard, don't get me wrong, but The Last Boy Scout to me had great cinematography, great action sets and action pieces. It was funny, it had amazing lines. I mean, one of the best scenes was when Bruce Willis plays a bodyguard. He was a former bodyguard for a senator. He did something at his job that got him kicked out and got him fired, and so that's where he kind of hit rock bottom. He's an alcoholic, lives in his car. His wife cheats on him and all that stuff, and now he gets hired to follow around Halle Berry's character, she's a stripper, and she's got something on a football team, on a football owner, and so he's hired as her bodyguard. And so while he's guarding her, he's kind of drunk and his guard is down, and then he gets hit in the head by the mafia guys who are after her. By gunpoint, he gets pulled to an alley. The guy's behind him, and the whole time Bruce Willis's character is making yo mama jokes. Like, I fucked your mother. You go, oh yeah? How do you know that was my mother? He goes, she said her husband was a pimp looking motherfucker with a hat. I go, oh yeah? You're pretty cool for a guy who's about to take a bullet in the back. After fucking your wife, I'll take two. And these are the kind of lines, like, the whole time. The main bad guy, the main villain, who's also very terrifying and great in these movies. You have to have a great villain also for a great action hero. And this villain was very menacing too. And he's like, you know who I am, Joseph? He goes, yeah, you're a bad guy, right? And this is what I love about Bruce Willis. He could deliver those lines very straight-faced in a way that was like, I don't give a shit. And believe it. You could believe that this man, who's pretty much got guns to his head, you know, in a really bad situation, but there's no fear in his face. Because you can tell that he's a man who has nothing to lose, so when you have nothing to lose in his mind, the dangerous thing you can ever have is a guy with nothing to lose. So the villain's like, you know who I am, Joseph? Yeah, you're the bad guy, right? He goes, that's right, Joseph, I am the bad guy. I guess I should be trembling in fear, right? I would say so. I'll start trembling in a minute. He's got a cigarette in his mouth. These cool, like very cool lines that pretty much only he could deliver. You can almost tell that this is probably who Bruce Willis is in his real life. Now, I don't know Bruce Willis personally, but I'm pretty sure he brings himself, because he's that way as John McClane. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. He's that way with him. All of these movies, he's that personality. He takes this personality with him with all the movies he's gone. And that's what makes him a great hero. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he knows his limitations. Well, the thing is with Bruce Willis, he did evolve better, more as an actor afterwards. I mean, he's done more drama, he's done other things, and he got better as an actor as time went on. You know, and whether you like him or not, as his personality or not, but the thing is, he, for a long period of time in the 80s, and still going on to this day, Bruce Willis is still an action hero, and that's why guys like him can always last. You can throw Bruce Willis into any action movie, and he'll augment that movie. He'll bring his character, he'll bring his flair, and he'll make that movie a better movie. And that's why I made this list. There's very few actors like Bruce Willis that could do that. That could augment a mediocre, minor movie and elevate it to something great. He could take these lines, which could be said by other actors. Okay, Shane Black wrote a good script. However, these lines, as good as they are, doesn't necessarily mean everyone could say them. Because you look at him, Damon Wayans, who was with him in this movie, and Damon Wayans had a lot of great lines in this movie too. But Damon Wayans didn't deliver the lines in the same way as, I mean, you can tell he was struggling with the lines a little more than Bruce Willis was. And I think a lot of these action heroes, what makes them great is also that they have a sense of themselves, if you know what I mean. I guess in some way they are egotistical in the fact that they may think that they really are heroes. So they could bring that sense of themselves onto the screen and make you believe it because they believe it. And that's kind of another thing too that they all have in common. So, Bruce Willis, Last Action Hero, to me, go check that. For me, that's his best movie. I'm talking action movie. I know people are going to argue that Die Hard is. I do like Die Hard, although I think as far as the movie's concerned, from all standpoints, acting, writing, script, direction, cinematography, action pieces, to me, I still put Last Action Hero, which was an underappreciated movie in my opinion. I'd put that on the list of his best. And I think Die Hard is a close second, but that's just my opinion, guys, and that's what separates me from everybody else. Because I'm going to be an action hero, because I know who I am, and I'm not afraid to be me. So next on the list, Arnold Schwarzenegger. The first time I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger, it was in this really weird Western movie. I forgot what it was called, and I was even in Europe at the time when I saw it, and it was a long time ago. I think he was dubbed. That's how bad it was. His voice was dubbed. And I'm not even sure if Conan the Barbarian was dubbed. I think the first one might have been, but this was definitely dubbed. So that's when I first saw him, and he was playing a villain, and it was kind of a silly villain too. Now you have this man who's Mr. Everything, he's Mr. Universe, best bodybuilder in the world. You know, strong man, right? Guy can't act, especially in the early days. You know, and you ask yourself, how the hell did this guy become so popular? It's like someone asked Arnold Schwarzenegger, be like when he was a kid. You know, like your teacher asks you, what do you want to be when you grow up? Annie, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, teacher, when I grow up, I want to be the strongest man in the world. I'm going to lift all the weights and become the world's most muscular, biggest, strongest man ever. Oh, that's a good dream. And then, teacher, I want to go to Hollywood and I'm going to be one of the greatest blockbuster movie stars of all time. And then, oh, yes, that's right. And I want to have a chain of restaurants with all my Hollywood buddies. Oh, really? Then I want to marry a Kennedy. And then I'm going to be a governor, too, in the United States. Oh, really? Honey, you and your crazy dreams. Right? Just to show you guys, Arnold Schwarzenegger is a hero. Who goes from a guy who could barely speak language, in a foreign country could barely speak the language, to one of the richest, most bloody, successful human beings in the faces of the earth? There's something superhero about him in general. And that's what I'm saying about all these guys. There's something that makes them super that translates into what they're doing, right? And you have a guy like Arnold Schwarzenegger who, from every standpoint, you're like, how the hell did he make it? But he did. And he has a charisma. He has a flair. And you can't deny that. Just like I said, it doesn't even matter what he says. Yes, it's funny when it comes from his voice because he's got the accent. It was the fact that he knew who he was. And there's something to say for that, guys. And we could all take a lesson from Arnold Schwarzenegger. He knew who he was on screen. He even made fun of himself. One of my favorite movies, that again, another underrated movie from Arnold Schwarzenegger, was The Last Action Hero, where he literally is making fun of himself. He's playing Jack Slade, this action hero that this kid is in love with, and he's like admiring, and he goes to see all of his movies, and this kid, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, has this magical ticket that he was given, and it drags him into the screen where he becomes part of the movie. And the whole time Arnold is making fun of himself. It's a genius movie, I love it. It's one of my favorite action movies. He even makes fun of his name. Who is this Arnold Schwarzenegger or something? He makes fun of his own name. And that's what I mean. There's like a sudden confidence in a person that these guys have to have, where he's okay with himself. He knows who he is. He knows where he belongs, and he stuck to it. And he was great at it, right? And he got better and better as time went on. He got into comedies where he did Twins, you know, I'm your brother, Julius. You know, Twins was it was a great comedy, but where he excelled was in delivering those action lines, you know, and that's where Clint Eastwood, to me, I think was the guy who might have popularized originally the liners like Dirty Harry and stuff. You gotta ask yourself one question: do you feel lucky, punk? Right? Whereas I think Arnold took it to a different level where he could pretty much say anything like, hey Sully, remember when I told you I'd kill you last? I lied, you know? Hasta la vista, baby. All these lines, I'll be back, that he says in these movies. It just doesn't matter what movie it's in, they're just fantastic, and that's what makes him. And you can tell that because he's so strong, you believe the fact that he could take on the Predator. He was lighthearted. He almost felt like that teddy bear, that warm teddy bear that could be menacing if you touch him the wrong way. You know, because when he wanted to be menacing, he could. You know, he look at you and go, I'll kill you! And you're like, ah! I'm the Terminator, T-1000, give me your boots and your shoes and get out. You could probably almost get that sense that Arnold Schwarzenegger could do that anywhere. He didn't have to be the Terminator. He could just walk into any bar, anywhere with his physique and his muscular stature and that angry look that he has sometimes and just be like, give me your boots and your shoes. And I want your mother's phone number, and give me your girlfriend's phone number, and I want to date your daughter. And you'd be like, yes, sir. Just don't kill me. You can believe that from him because he's such just this giant presence of a man. But what makes him better than that is the fact that he can deliver the one-liners. He himself brings his personality and his fun-loving personality, and he has a sense of humor about himself and just a confidence within himself that he brings to the screen. It makes him one of the greatest action heroes of all time. And like I said, go watch Last Action Hero. That's one of my favorite movies. That's where he is actually picking on himself the whole time. He even appears as Schwarzenegger, as himself, and he makes fun of himself literally in this movie. It's a definite satire on the action genre that he was part of, made popular, and that's why I recommend that movie. It's one of the best action movies because it had everything. It had comedy, it was well written script, it had that same sort of Arnold Schwarzenegger flair to everything, good action set pieces, and that's what I love about most of these action movies. The characters themselves, the personality, the writing brings multiple levels to this, and it actually had heart because the little kid, you know, looked up to Arnold Schwarzenegger, looked up to the character, and the character, you know, changed over time. And anyway, go watch this movie, it's great. So that's Arnold Schwarzenegger for you. So that's two great celebrities, two great heroes that we never see. We don't see those guys anymore. Next on the list is Jackie Chan. Now Jackie Chan had been working for years in Hong Kong, doing Hong Kong movies. He started like when he was 40 doing movies in Hollywood. I mean, we only saw him when he was 40, but he'd been doing movies in the 70s and 60s, directed, and he wrote. He was pretty much a guy who did everything. I think he was a singer too. He did pretty much everything. One of the hardest working people, and he brought that, and even as hardworking and as good as Jackie Chan was, and as popular as he was, he always had a humbleness about him. And remember, don't confuse humble with weakness, right? Because humble could be also strength. To be humble and be strong, despite knowing who you are. Remember, strength comes from inside, right? And a lot of these characters, they're strong on the outside, but there's something about their inside that makes them confident and strong and knowing who they are. And that's another thing that these guys bring, is a humbleness within themselves, but a humbleness with a confidence, with a subtle confidence. And that's where Jackie Chan flourished. His personality on screen, I mean, let's take his martial arts out of it for 5 seconds, because let's just talk about him as a person. He's a likable person. He's not a particularly good looking guy. I mean, he's okay looking, probably better looking when he was younger, but You know, he didn't have the physique, that stern, that chiseled look that Bruce Lee had. He was a cute enough guy. I would say put him in the cute realm, but not a guy who you would like pick as a lead role, lead man. And that's where he flourished though, because a lot of these guys, see, that's, you'll notice a lot of these guys that I'm mentioning, Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and now Jackie Chan, they weren't good looking, like defined by Hollywood standards, chiseled good looks. Now Bruce Willis is probably the best looking out of all these guys when he was younger, but he still had a look of grittiness to him, like weathered, like a weathered person. If someone could be weathered. Whereas Jackie Chan was different. He was kind of like the little boy next door, like the best friend that you liked, you know, and he was nice. But that's what made him so good. He was unassuming. He was a guy that you didn't see coming either. Bruce Lee was different. Bruce Lee would walk into a room and you knew this guy meant business. Just physique, his look, the poise, the way he walked, everything about Bruce Lee, he looked like, don't screw with me. A seriousness to him. Whereas Jackie Chan had more of a monkey, and that's why he did well with the drunken monkey stuff. Because he looked like a monkey that could come in and just like save the day, but you didn't expect it from him, and that's what makes him so good. And now you talk about his action sequences, and that's another thing that he did. Stunts that he did, like his personality didn't come necessarily in the script and how he acted, which he did have a funny personality, but what really, I think, flourished was his acting within his martial arts and how he created art with his martial arts. And the fact, now I'm not talking about the beautiful hidden, crouching tiger, hidden dragon stuff, I'm talking about the creativity with like jumping through a window and then coming out the other side of a moving car, and then, you know, a truck being run over by a giant truck and then coming out the other side and hanging onto it, and all these kind of crazy things that he did in his movies and the stunts that he did on himself, running up walls back and forth. It was almost like Inspector Clouseau, but martial arts version. You know, like he would be bumbling but still somehow manage to, while running away, still manage to kick everybody's ass. I don't think you'd really ever seen that before. A guy, like, usually when you see a martial arts film, you usually see the main, like again, Bruce Lee. You knew this guy meant business. I'm not backing down from you. No matter who you are, Bruce Lee will take you down. Bruce Lee will take 5 people just standing up like this. Whereas Jackie Chan would take down an entire army of people running away. He ran from people at the same time as kicked their ass. As unrealistic as all of his stunts and stuff were, there was still a sense of realism to it, because you feel like, well, you know, most martial artists aren't going to be Bruce Lee and have that poise where you could believe you could take down 5 people in a row with just his presence alone. You know, most of the people, you know, are just gonna like kick and then be overwhelmed by all these people, whereas Jackie Chan, it was believable that a guy with all this weird creativity and luck and stuff could probably take on an army of people if he had this amount of luck and had this amount of weird things happening and he was this good at running away. And like I said, that's where his confidence and his personality was translated in these movies. It wasn't necessarily in his acting, it wasn't necessarily in his personality as far as characters on. He was okay at all that stuff, but what made him great for me was his martial arts style, and how he brought something brand new, made you see something you'd never seen before. Who ever saw stuff like that? Nobody saw a guy jumping through windows and from one balcony to the other. And he knew he did his own stunts, because at the end of the movie he showed you. He breaks his foot in his movies, and he puts on a sock and a boot, and like, that's what a hero is. These people are heroes inside and outside. They're inspirational people. And he translates from being the actor onto screen, and you could believe it because the actor himself was that way. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm not trying to like go on against these actors today. I'm not saying that, because they're all inspirational in their own way. There's just something about these particular people that you could believe were heroes without the costume. They didn't have to be Captain America. They didn't have to be Spider-Man. They didn't have to be Superman with a cape or Batman. You believed that Arnold Schwarzenegger, because Arnold Schwarzenegger in his own life conquered shit. You know, to be where he was, he had to be that way. Jackie Chan was a hero in Hong Kong, and then comes to North America and becomes a hero in North America. Something that Bruce Lee could never do until after he died. See, that's the sad, tragic part about Bruce Lee. And that's going to go next on my list, is Bruce Lee. Where Bruce Lee, again, pioneered martial arts for North America. And even his own. He invented his own style. His character, his personality came from who he was. Again, a guy who you could believe was this hero, because he himself in his real life was that way. He trained his body like no one else had before. His philosophies in life. He created a martial arts style onto himself. Even his on-stage persona, where it just like a cat. You almost could believe that he was a tiger. If you could believe that a human being could inside his soul was a tiger, you could believe that it was Bruce Lee. It was Bruce Lee or a dragon. One of those two. Like, I know he's known as the dragon, but the way he bounced around and You almost felt like a tiger, more than even a dragon. You almost felt like a tiger, and like a caged animal that he would just like pounce, ready to pounce on you, and with power. And he was so fast. I mean, sometimes you'd look at him, you think he punched you once, punched you 3 times. It was great. He was a hero in real life to a lot of people, a lot of Asian people and a lot of white people. Man, this guy bridged the gap between Asian and white. Everybody who, like, you go in Hollywood and there's so many actors that looked up to him. Even to this day, people still hold Bruce Lee up as the standard, the pinnacle of martial arts. Maybe in Asia it's different. Maybe they have other people they look up to. But here in North America, and just to know how much he struggled trying to bring his philosophies and himself and the racism that he had to go through, you know, in his life. He tried to do Kung Fu, the series, and then that was taken and given to somebody else, which was his idea, right? So he went through a lot of shit, but he persevered. He came through and he became an icon of martial arts that we still, to the level we haven't seen since. And everyone from now on is going to be measured against this guy. He inspired a whole group of people. He inspired guys like Tony Jaa and Van Damme and these people. I think Jackie Chan also inspired Tony Jaa. I think Tony Jaa is like a combination. If you were to take parts of Bruce Lee and take parts of Jackie Chan and combine them, you got Tony Jaa. And so like you see that these guys going forward are fantastic. And it's who they were as people that also were projected onto the screen that made them great, made them these action heroes. Again, like I said, we have superheroes now, and superheroes are fake. They're not real. These people were different because they were heroes, and they can translate that onto screen.